Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, January 12th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The stage is set for a vote tomorrow in the House, and now even some Republicans say they will vote to impeach President Trump. It comes as Congress and the rest of the country are on high alert for more violence. Nadia Romero has more from Washington.
Days after the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, lawmakers have been warned of the possibility of more violence.
They're talking about 4,000 armed patriots to surround the Capitol and prevent any Democrat from going in. So this is an organized group that has a plan.
The FBI says armed protests are planned in Washington and all 50 state capitals ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration, prompting law enforcement agencies to step up security.
They have to be stopped, and unfortunately that includes the president.
Which is why the House will vote on a bill Tuesday, urging Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office.
Our nation, our democracy, and our freedom cannot risk another day of the Trump presidency.
Democrats have been wanting to remove President Trump from office since he won the election in 2016.
The House also plans to pass rules for the impeachment debate, clearing the way for a Wednesday vote.
It's really a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in the history of politics. It's ridiculous.
As President Trump left the White House for the first time since the siege on the Capitol, he defended his actions on that deadly day.
It's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate.
But as Congress continued its course, President Trump denounced violence.
I think it's causing tremendous danger to our country, and it's causing tremendous anger. I want no violence. Thank you very much. Thank you.
In Washington, Nadia Romero, KPBS News.
The San Diego Sheriff's Department released this statement saying, in part, we have no intelligence or information of any threats to the county of San Diego. However, every threat received by the Sheriff's Department is taken seriously. The local FBI office said it is working with state, local, and federal law enforcement to monitor the situation. There are now more coronavirus vaccines than the number of Americans in the limited first priority group. Today, the CDC announced sweeping changes to speed up the rollout.
We clearly have enough vaccine at this point to begin to expand and get more and more of the vulnerable individuals in our country vaccinated.
Among the changes, releasing the entire supply while ensuring timely second doses for everyone, and asking all states to open up vaccinations to everyone age 65 and over, as well as adults under 65 with comorbidity. KPBS reporter John Carroll has reaction from state health officials to the new federal guidance.
From California's Health and Human Services Secretary, a thumbs up to the new CDC guidance. Dr. Mark Galley says Governor Newsom has now ordered state health authorities to take a closer look at it,
so that we can evaluate the new federal guidance, determine how it's going to impact what we do here in California, and with haste, without delay, getting that updated guidance out.
Galley says the state should have more to say on the guidance within 24 hours, specifically the change about vaccinating people 65 and older and those with pre-existing conditions. Galley says Petco Park and other super sites in the state will help in getting more vaccine out to more people more quickly. He says other sites like that will be coming online within the next few weeks.
As a healthcare provider and leader, we are so anxious to get to our older patients and our sicker, more complex patients.
Appearing on KPBS Midday Edition today, UC San Diego Health CEO Patty Mason said she and her colleagues were desperate to get vaccine into the arms of older folks and those with comorbidities. But Mason says the priority right now is to vaccinate more frontline healthcare workers. Broadly speaking, she says there are about 500,000 of them in the county. She says within the next couple of weeks, the UC system and other vaccine providers should be able to begin vaccinating the 65-plus and comorbidity group, even if they're still vaccinating healthcare workers. There's just one big challenge.
We need the vaccine. To me, from a patient perspective, that's the rate limiting factor right now, is that we need more allocation of vaccines so we can get it into the arms of our seniors.
The new guidance from the federal government is just that, guidance. The decision of how to distribute vaccines is up to the states. And there was some criticism today of the CDC recommendations from public health experts, the concern being primarily that it could end up just causing confusion among the public. But it is hard to argue with the hope that getting more vaccine out more quickly has the potential to supercharge the effort to save lives. John Carroll, KPBS News.
San Diego County is closing in on 200,000 COVID-19 cases today. More than 3,500 new cases were reported, along with 41 deaths. It was just last month that the county crossed the 100,000 mark for cases. San Diego Unified School District resumed its COVID-19 testing today as a select few students and teachers returned to campus after the winter holiday. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong explains the district's plans to expand on-campus testing.
San Diego Unified Superintendent Cindy Martin visited Penn Elementary in the Paradise Hills neighborhood today alongside Teachers Union President Keisha Borden to receive their first COVID-19 tests of the new year. While campuses remain largely closed, a select few high-needs students are receiving on-campus instruction. In partnership with UC San Diego, the school district is making sure all students and staff who are regularly on campus are getting tested once every 2 weeks.
We're happy to be able to provide testing to all of our students and our staff on campuses every 2 weeks because we know that that's the cadence or frequency of testing that'll prevent 90% of the spread.
The district's testing program started on December 14th at 10 elementary schools. The district plans to eventually open testing sites at all of its campuses in the coming months.
These are our pilots now getting it up and running, and the intent is every single campus will have a testing center just like you see here today. That's at our 180 campuses.
The next group of testing sites will open at additional elementary schools on Tuesday, January 19th. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
A new political dynamic at the County Board of Supervisors means a new approach to dealing with COVID-19 enforcement. In its first meeting with the Democratic majority, the board approved these changes. They include a proactive approach to inspections following a complaint, more citations for violators of public health orders, and those who don't comply could lose eligibility for county relief programs. Today, the board also declared racism a public health crisis. They described today's unanimous vote as an important step forward that will be backed up with policies designed to tackle systemic racism and remove barriers that prevent diversity, equity, and inclusion. After just 1 month in office, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria will be giving his first State of the City address tomorrow night. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen takes a look at 3 ways Gloria has already changed the direction of city government.
I, Todd Gloria, do solemnly swear.
One of Gloria's first big decisions as mayor was related to energy. The city charges SDG&E fees to keep its gas and power lines on the public right-of-way. Those fees are written into a contract called a franchise agreement that was signed in 1970. For the past year, activists have been pushing city officials to strike a harder bargain with the utility while negotiating a new contract. And they felt Mayor Kevin Faulconer would be too willing to accept an offer made by the utility, not Gloria.
Rejecting the bid by SDG&E was an easy decision.
Gloria threw out SDG&E's offer just a week after he was inaugurated. He's now preparing to set new terms for the utility that go further than what his predecessor wanted. Things like more money for the city's general fund and stronger commitments to renewable energy.
I'm trying to bring a different attitude and different approach to City Hall. And that's one where we understand that we are the 8th largest city in the country. This franchise is worth billions of dollars, and we are going to negotiate aggressively on behalf of the people of the city.
As a Republican, ex-Mayor Faulconer was unlikely to support a city government takeover of electricity and gas services. That's a process called municipalization. Gloria says it's not off the table.
City has been, I think, served well by its utility partner over the last 100 years or so. I believe we can come to an agreement that works well for everyone. But if we can't come to that, we'll have to make a different decision.
Another area where Gloria is changing the city's tune is COVID-19. Faulkner was reluctant to punish businesses for violating the public health order. He said the state's ban on outdoor dining was unnecessary. Gloria, on the other hand, supports the restrictions.
Going around the city and seeing most businesses complying with the public health order and then observing a handful of others who are not, that doesn't seem fair, doesn't seem right. And as someone who is tasked with protecting and serving the people of this city, I believed it was necessary to start stepping up enforcement focused on egregious violators of the public health order.
On December 30th, Gloria signed an executive order directing the police and city attorney's office to cite and prosecute those scofflaw businesses.
I recognize the frustration that is out there. All of us are impacted to differing degrees, and there's no way around this. The only way through it is to do everything we can to stop the spread, advance vaccinations as quickly as possible, and let's hope that we get on the other side of this sooner rather than later.
A third area where Gloria is distinguishing himself from his predecessor is in his relationship with city employee unions. Last week, a judge invalidated San Diego's 2012 ballot measure Proposition B, which denied pensions to newly hired city workers. Faulkner was among Prop B's strongest supporters, and even when it became increasingly apparent the measure would be thrown out in court, Faulkner still fought to preserve it. Gloria says the judge made the right call.
I think it brings us closer to closure on this issue that we have been dealing with for years, something that I have always opposed, even when it was unpopular. And I look forward to the opportunity of working with city leaders as well as our employees to figure out a path forward that will put this issue to rest and allow us to focus on the many other issues that demand attention here at City Hall.
Gloria's State of the City address Wednesday will likely reveal more about his approach to the job of mayor and the ways in which he's different from, or similar to, his predecessor. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Coronavirus cases at San Diego County senior care facilities have surged to their highest point yet. But as KPBS reporter Amita Sharma explains, getting vaccines into the arms of these vulnerable people has been spotty and slow.
Scripps physician Carl Steinberg says less than 20% of area long-term care places have received the vaccine, and he says about half of caregivers have thus far refused to take it. The situation is worse statewide. Lawyer Mike Dark of California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform says only a small fraction of people at senior care facilities projected to have received the vaccine by now have actually gotten the shots.
We are getting calls every day from residents in long-term care and from their families saying, where is it? We know the vaccines exist. We know they've been set aside for us. We've not even heard from our facilities on what the plan is on actually getting them to us.
Sources say part of the problem is the federal government has left the vaccination process to CVS and Walgreens, which are not well equipped to handle such a large and complex undertaking. Meanwhile, Patricia Will, Chief Executive Officer of Belmont Village Senior Living, is using the extra time to educate residents.
We launched a really multifaceted information campaign involving experts, doing webinars for family members.
She says most of her residents are choosing to get the vaccine. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
In a statement, CVS said it's experienced in COVID-19 testing at senior care facilities and also dispenses thousands of flu vaccines in these communities each year. Disneyland is hosting Orange County's first large-scale COVID-19 vaccination site. Officials say it will open later this week to appointments only, but right now they're only available to law enforcement, first responders in high-risk communities, and people 75 and older. As changes come to help speed up immunizations, KPBS health reporter Taryn Mento tells us about the plan to vaccinate the people who will later convince skeptical populations to get their own shot.
This is the immunization card. The paper is proof Dalia Mohammed was one of the first in line at the county's new vaccination super site. Thousands of healthcare workers and long-term care facility employees are expected to come through the Petco Park lot daily.
So this is my sticker.
Community health workers like Mohammed bridge COVID-19 information gaps between government officials and hard-to-reach populations. She translates public health messaging for the Kurdish community through a county partnership with the nonprofit License to Freedom.
When you're sick, what do you do? How do you quarantine? How do you make a doctor's appointment? Those are very simple things sometimes that we think are very easy, but people in our community, they can't read that in English. They don't know what that's saying.
License to Freedom is one of 11 groups working together to reach communities in 20 languages. Mohammed says that includes debunking vaccine myths some people may be spreading online.
There are people who have been getting misinformation on Facebook, on Instagram about what the vaccine can do, and this is what they're reposting and they're spreading.
She's sharing her own experience to combat misinformation and encourage people to get the vaccine when it's their turn.
And it is up to us to put it on our social media, go out in the community, talk about it, call people, send text messages, have Zoom meetings, and have the entire community sometimes come together in a Zoom class.
The rest of the License to Freedom's counselors and community health workers are due to get their first shot this week. Once they have immunity and the vaccine is more widely available, they'll knock on doors to get others in line for their doses. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
We're following all of the latest developments on the vaccine rollout for you at kpbs.org. Just click on the Tracking COVID tab on our homepage, then the new tab, Vaccines. You'll find links to the county's vaccination sites and information who is eligible for a shot right now. San Diego County is taking a new approach in its effort to develop a climate action plan that survives legal scrutiny. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
San Diego County is required by state legislation and executive orders to bring down greenhouse gas emissions. Climate action plans are a key tool, but the county has repeatedly produced plans that were challenged and rejected in the courts. The board's new Democratic majority says times have changed, and the panel is setting new guidelines for the process.
It must be comprehensive. It must be legally enforceable. It cannot rely on the purchase of carbon offsets to meet emission reduction targets. It needs to use updated data and modeling, and it needs to emphasize environmental justice and equity.
The county has failed to produce a working plan over the last decade. Critics are encouraged by the positive momentum, but they're worried the result won't go far enough.
That's not enough, that they need to reach out fully to committing to zero carbon, a zero carbon climate action plan. So we're excited to see the energy for sure, and we want to keep pushing for them to go as bold as possible.
The order from the supervisors will lay the groundwork for a new plan. The county is working to reduce greenhouse gas emissions below 1990 levels by the end of the decade. It remains unclear how long it will take to develop the new plan. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The Ocean Beach Pier suffered damage after being hit by high surf. The pier has been closed since Sunday because of the high surf advisory, which expired this afternoon. The damage seems to be limited to the railing on the south side, which was being braced by wooden planks. It's still unclear when the pier will reopen.
Dry weather ahead through the weekend and into next week, and temperatures really soaring. The second half of this week will be rivaling record highs here Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. It's a Santa Ana pattern, and the winds will be varying at times. Could see some stronger winds, especially for the end of the weekend into the weekend. And as I mentioned, a warming trend is coming, and temperatures soaring the second half of the week. It'll get a little cooler into early next week, and surf will be elevated right into next week. Temperatures tonight around 37 Oceanside, 46 in San Diego. Ramona a little chilly tonight at 32. El Cajon's at 42. Campo 35, 38 Borrego Springs. For tomorrow, well, we have the offshore winds, so it's not as strong, but that will promote mild, dry conditions. Temperatures above average. Forecast high 70 in Oceanside, San Diego 71. Ramona 76, and El Cajon's up to 79, and Borrego Springs at 77, and Campos at 70. Take a look at this. Thursday through Saturday, September-like warmth. Record highs will be challenged. And we have some gusty offshore winds increasing into the weekend. And of course, the fire danger goes up as well. Temperatures, look at that. 70 Wednesday, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, very warm, rivaling record highs. Interior sections, lots of sun and warm Wednesday, but we're in the 80s Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Wow, what a warm stretch of weather. Even in the mountains, temperatures soaring into the 70s, and we'll have some winds at times. And in the desert areas, temperatures rivaling records here as we take you into Friday and Saturday. It's be quite warm with temperatures in the mid-80s, sun, just a few clouds. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Hospital workers are inundated with patients and local businesses are hurting from lockdowns. KPBS North County reporter Jacob Ayers says an Encinitas woman is working to lighten the burden on both.
Cindy Wood is an adjunct professor at multiple higher education institutions in San Diego County and a founding member of the North County Justice Allies, whose group mission is to offer support and protection to underrepresented and marginalized groups. Recently, her efforts have been focused on supporting local restaurants hurt by the pandemic, delivering food from those eateries to hospitals in San Diego.
They need to be something that can be eaten with no more than a napkin, maybe a fork at most. It needs to be something that can be eaten quickly because these workers only get a few minutes break.
The effort began on December 12th when Wood shared an online post for an addiction awareness initiative at Pandora's Pizza, which delivered food for local ICU staff. Since then, Venmo donations to Wood's account have soared, and the effort has raised just under $12,000. With all the funding, Wood has been able to continue supporting North County restaurants like Chick's Natural on a daily basis.
You can't just give up. A lot of people are giving up. I mean, I think there is hope. You know, we're a family-run business, so everybody pitched in. My daughter helps, my son helps, so that makes a big difference.
The second part of the plan is delivering the food to hospital staff, with the majority of donations going towards Scripps Memorial Hospital Encinitas.
I'm inspired to keep this going. Members of the community are inspired to continue to help in ways that work. You know, mutual aid is something that a lot of people are talking about right now. The Justice Allies are working on a mutual aid fund, and yeah, I do see this continuing to grow. I don't know how yet.
Wood says her efforts inspired acquaintances throughout the county to begin similar initiatives. Better yet, she expects to continue delivering food from local North County restaurants to hospital staff for the foreseeable future. Jacob Ayers, KPBS News.
The impact of COVID-19 on schools is far-reaching. The PBS series American Portrait, which airs tonight, profiles Chula Vista English teacher Jessica Macias, who was laid off last year because of the pandemic. Here's a look.
This is my city, Chula Vista. It is predominantly Hispanic, and a lot of people have family over in Tijuana. We do live in a borderland here in San Diego. Here, specifically in Chula Vista. This is a borderland. This is a mixture. And that's my elementary school right there. I wanted to be a teacher since I was in kindergarten. I would come home and I remember making my parents and my brothers sit down so that they can play the part of a student. There was a substitute teacher my senior year. You could tell she wasn't used to a community like ours. She asked us where we wanted to go to college. And a lot of my classmates, very smart kids, they were saying Duke and Princeton, and she looked us dead in the eye and she said, well, looking at where you're coming from, it's more than likely not going to happen.
PBS American Portrait, I Work, airs at 9 o'clock tonight, right here on KPBS. The San Diego Rep and its playwright in residence launched a new online program called Vemos. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says the show is designed to highlight a different Latin country each month.
Last night, the San Diego Rep and its playwright-in-residence, Herbert Siguenza, debuted a new monthly digital show called Vamos.
Well, this is kind of a fantasy TV show that I've always wanted to see on TV. I've always wanted to see a TV show like Anthony Bourdain or something like that he just concentrates on Latin America. And so that's what I did.
Each month, he'll highlight a different Latin American country. Last night, it was Peru.
Yeah, I'm showing you a map of Peru. I figure if I can't point out where South Dakota is on a USA map, you probably don't know where Peru is.
I'm going to do kind of a humorous Pecha Kucha presentation of the country. In other words, I'm going to spend about 10 minutes giving people some context of the country. You know, its history, its writers, its geography, and the music and all that. Just talking about the country itself, the politics, of course.
Siguenza will tap into his knowledge of Latin American history, but plans to use cooking as the enticement to learning.
And I just want to show people the beauty and diversity that each Latin American country has and what they offer to the world culturally and in the culinary world as well. I'm going to be showing a recipe. At the end of every show, I'm going to be going through a recipe with people.
Vamos debuts a new episode on the second Monday of each month. Then the shows will be archived on the San Diego Rep's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
We have a breaking news update right now. Vice President Pence has ruled out using the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump. In a statement, he said, quote, "I do not believe that such a course of action is in the best interest of our nation or consistent with our Constitution." He urged Congress to focus on the Biden transition instead of impeachment. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.